All right, welcome back, listeners. Content Farm number 9. Welcome back, Peter.
Hey.
Hi.
Oh, I thought it was number 10.
It's 9.
It's 9? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I was saying
You were so happy about it being number 10, but it's number 9.
No, I meant next week. That's how excited I am about number 10.
Okay.
It's like,
right.
it's a week away,
good.
and I'm like, oh shit, number 10. You know, it's number 9.
Right.
I actually almost labeled this one and said 8, even though like with Clyde we were on episode 8, and that would have just been a terrible mistake. That would have ruined fucking everything.
Wow, what an insult. Yeah, let's redo that episode.
Look, we just erased him. Anyway, speaking of Clyde, wasn't last week's episode really fucking cool?
That was cool. Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's good.
We went on like way over time as well, and he was completely chill with it. We were talking about so much fun shit. Such a good episode, and I was kind of taken off guard by how cool that World of Warcraft stuff was. The Game Master.
Yeah, it's neat. It really was like some mysterious role for so long, and only later did we find out all the truths and secrets and stuff. And
yeah,
it was something that a lot of people are like, oh man, I want to be a GM someday.
I want to be a GM now. Like I think they should come back. Like I would apply, and I would leave my real life job I would leave my job and apply immediately if I could be a fucking, I don't know.
It sounds pretty cool, doesn't it?
Destiny 2 Game Master or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, Clyde was fucking great, and I've had a couple of people in real life, my friends and viewers that I know, who have said they'd love to see Clyde again, so I hope one day we can have Clyde back.
Yeah, that'd be
great.
Like
Clyde.
Let's play it coy, though. Let's act like we don't actually want him on.
Yeah, let's...
that's how we get him on.
That's how we get him on, yeah. Just
don't make him want it.
Don't reply to his messages in the Discord. Anyway, enough Clyde. Fuck that guy. I guess I should talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows, because I've taken it upon myself to take one for the team and buy that game and play it. I think
you took that bullet.
Yeah, well, mainly the reason was I think it came out and it kind of like because there was such a buzz around it, like good or bad, it was just being talked about and made me think like, I miss good Assassin's Creed games. So I started like hopping between like Black Flag and Odyssey, trying to get like that Assassin's Creed hit, you know what I mean? And then I don't know if you even played any.
I have not played any Assassin's Creed.
Crazy.
So I wouldn't have been someone to tell you how good of a Assassin's Creed game this was compared to the
it doesn't matter anyway.
I'm glad you took it.
I'm just gonna tell you anyway.
That's right.
Yeah, I was kind of bouncing between two that are renowned for being two of the good ones. And even though they were fun, I was kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I'm just pretending that I don't want to play the newest one when I quite obviously do. Like I wasn't getting like I don't know, I didn't feel like I wasn't really getting what I want. I felt like I was really wanting to play the new one, but I was just like keeping it inside myself because it's Ubisoft and because I don't really like them. And I didn't like the last Assassin's Creed game very much either. But I caved and I bought it because I don't know, I guess I saw some gameplay and stuff of the stealth and being a fucking cool Japanese ninja, and I was like, fuck it, you know. I'm not gonna act like I don't want to play this. This does look cool as hell. So I bought it. I paid full price and I got it on PS5. And yeah, I have no regrets. It's cool.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, objectively, I don't really know where I stand on it, but I can say that for what I wanted to get out of it, I've been like quite satisfied, and I think that's a big deal. It kind of depends on where you set your expectations. Because if you're expecting it to be like a really cool, like in-depth open world based in Japan, you go and play a different game. Go and play Ghost of Tsushima. Like you should probably buy Ghost of Tsushima instead. You're gonna get more from that if that's the kind of game that you want to play. But if you want to be like a cool ninja with really nice graphics and really nice stealth and kill animations, then this is probably the game for you, because the assassin power fantasy, in my opinion, might be like at its peak in this game. When you play as the game has a dual protagonist kind of system, which doesn't really take effect until a little bit into the game. So for the first, like, I guess depends on who you are, but for me it was probably about 10 hours for the first 10 hours of the game, you play as Naue, who is the Japanese woman, and she's like the stealth side of the coin in the on the dual protagonist scale, and she's like a complete ninja. Like, she's probably the fastest and most cunning assassin that there's been in the franchise in terms of how it feels in gameplay. Obviously, not like lore-wise or anything. I just mean, like, she's very nimble. She has a grapple hook, and she has a lot of really fucking clean kill animations with her hidden blade. And yeah,
nice.
Just running around doing that for like 10 hours was honestly really fun. And this is where like the open world kind of comes into it a little bit as well, because you know how we talked with Matthew and elsewhere about how some games are just big and open for kind of no reason.
Yeah.
This game definitely reeks of that, because the open world in this game literally, for me, served the single purpose of riding to the next point where I'm going to kill like 100 people, and then get back on my horse and ride to another place where I'm going to kill like 100 people. There's like nothing else there. Sometimes you get into a fight like on the way, and that's it. But there isn't anything particularly technically impressive. The graphics are good, but like not enough to like just blow my mind, at least not very often.
Yeah.
There's none of this, you know, like Kingdom Come 2 NPC life, unbelievably realistic interactions and behavior and wildlife. There's just like very basic minimal wildlife that you can't interact with. NPCs.
Can you pet the dog?
You can pet dogs and cats.
Okay, good.
There's actually a lot of cats, just like in Tsushima there was a lot of cats as well. In the Tsushima's DLC anyway. Yeah, and dogs, and you can pet them all.
Important point.
It is an important point, yeah, and just honestly, the scale and space in the open world is just not like I said, if you're looking for a cool open world game, probably go and play Ghost of Tsushima instead, because in Ghost of Tsushima there's much more cool shit to look at. It's a much more aesthetically pleasing game in terms of its art style. Yeah. I think Assassin's Creed Shadows, in terms of graphical fidelity, probably looks better, just being like a 2025 game, like AAA by Ubisoft.
Because Tsushima looked really good.
Yeah, but Tsushima has this, because it's leaning on its art style rather than just leaning on fidelity. It kind of looks timeless, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, the breeze and the leaves. Like Ghost of Tsushima's whole thing was that there was just leaves and foliage everywhere, even if the foliage wasn't like high polygon or whatever. It was so deep, and there was so much of it that everything just looked incredible. Everything was just flourishing all the time, whether it was whether it was a night breeze through the reeds or golden leaves. It
actually looked good. The wind, you could see like the waves of the wind rolling through the grass and stuff. Where on so many games, when the wind blows, like things will just like shake and shudder. Everything just kind of shakes independently, and it doesn't have that flow to it.
Yeah, they had that. They actually used the wind. The wind was a theme, because Ghost of Tsushima is one of those genuinely impressive artistic games.
It was so great that
in terms of story theme,
the way they show you wasn't like Monster Hunter, where like you see like a glowing trail. It wasn't like a beacon on your map or on your compass up above. It was like literally like follow the wind blowing. Which was so cool.
Which Jin believed was kind of the soul of his dad guiding him around.
I know, yeah.
Which was a story element.
It was actually connected to the lore. It wasn't just like, oh, the wind's pretty cool, by the way.
Yeah, the wind's pretty cool, but it's like, your bro.
This is your dad. Like, Simba.
This is Jin's interpretation of like the spirit of his father guiding him to where he needs to be. Like, this is perfect world design. Like, they had a vision from the drawing board with how the wind was going to be a theme and how it was going to tie into the graphics, and they just nailed all of it. Assassin's Creed Shadows is for all its strengths in regards to combat and satisfaction and graphical fidelity, it's missing a bit of that, a bit of that vision, which is just very common throughout these AAA like mass-produced games. Like, the lack of vision is very common for these kind of games.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, the guiding in this game is just a white line on the floor.
Mm.
They didn't go with any. I mean, not that this is the be all end all of what makes a game good,
Yeah,
but the guiding in this game is just a
that's
fucking
pretty immersion breaking though.
white, like it's a
Even like
white
a
line on the
little
board.
indicator on a compass above is less intrusive than that. Kind of, that's like Overwatch levels of the point is this way, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of Monster Hunter Wild, you mentioned those green fireflies. I fucking hate those green fucking fireflies
You
so
do?
much because they have green fireflies for all of the like items you pick up, and
Oh yeah,
sometimes they don't look dissimilar to the ones that are
mhm.
like guiding you to
Yeah.
your
The
objective.
fireflies that fly to the items you can pick up are the same color as the ones that guide you
The exact
to
same
the
color
objective. I
because
remember in World that was a huge issue because like they just look the same. And
yeah,
like in Wilds at least, it's different that like the main ones they're broader and they're thicker, and the
they are
ones that
broader
go to
and
the
thicker.
items are a
Yeah,
little thinner and then wispier.
it still got me a few
And like
times, but yeah,
yeah, it's not as bad.
it's not as
But
bad as
what's also
Wild.
great is when you hop on your God, I forget what they call the bird. When you hop on your
Secret.
the secret, then you press up and then you're automatically running in the
Hmm.
direction. So if I'm ever lost, I just tap up and he just kind of auto
Yeah,
corrects to wherever.
it's a solution to a problem that they created. No,
True,
literally, no, but
very
it
true.
actually is good though because although I do
Yeah.
feel it takes away from the hunt aspect because I jump on my secret and I press up on the D-pad every time the monster moves. Like that's
Yeah,
all I like.
but
That's
I mean,
it.
I'm so out of the hunt part of like every time I'm fighting the monster and he just gets up and
Oh yeah,
leaves.
it's annoying.
I'm like, fuck this. I hate this.
Yeah,
Or I remember in World where like you couldn't even go straight to the you had to find his footprints. You had to, find, trees that he gnawed on or scratch marks or something. You'd have to
yeah,
gather evidence. And then when he had enough, then the fireflies would get a hint and they'd show you where it was.
yeah.
And
They basically dropped that in
honestly,
Wilds, didn't
without playing the previous series, I feel like that was an oversimplification of what it used to be.
they?
So even that was too much for me. So I
That's
definitely
crazy.
would have not gelled well with the earlier in the series.
Yeah,
But yeah, definitely an improvement at least.
yeah. Just going back to Shadows.
Mhm.
Just speaking of how I talked about the kind of unnecessary or unnecessarily prominent open world being like a kind like an
Yeah.
annoying trend. There's another
Yeah.
annoying
Well, especially with Ubisoft,
yeah,
they're really really big about that. It's kind of to be expected from them.
yeah, and I'm gonna follow on to that as well. There's more like just this game is still bloated to fuck, just like Valhalla was before it, and like
Hmm.
basically all
Yeah.
Ubisoft games because. You'll explore the map and you'll see they do the white question mark thing. You know, like you see white question marks all around the map,
Yeah.
and
What's here?
you go to them and like there's like 5 possible things that a question mark can be, and I
Yeah.
think 3 of them make me audibly sigh every time I see them, and they're all of the things that don't involve enemies. Because I'm not kidding when I
Ouch.
say like the only thing that's like making me kind of like the game is how fun the combat is. But
Yeah.
there's 2 in particular, right? There's these shrines that you can go to, which is like a building, and they normally have like some people, like some not enemies, like some NPCs walking around, and you have to
Yeah.
every time you go to an objective, you hold L2, which is kind of like a focus mode, the left trigger, and it shows you like any interactable or any objective through walls within like 30
Hmm.
feet or something. And every
Okay.
time you go to a shrine or a temple, you run in, you hold L2, and you see these 3 white dots, and they could be like quite far away from each other or close to each other, and you go and just pray. Like quite like a little pray animation in 3 places, and then you get the completion, which gives you like a skill point. So,
Okay.
but you sometimes, like, I think yesterday I ran into 3 of these shrines consecutively after each other, like by going to question marks on the map, which means I went to a place, saw the shrine, I went, oh, fuck, held the left trigger, saw the 3 different praying areas, prayed, and then left, and then found another one, and then repeated the process, and then left, and then found another one again, and repeated the process. That's how bad
It's
it.
just so mundane.
That's how bad it can get in Assassin's Creed Shadows. And there's another one which is just the same thing, but instead of a shrine, it's a temple. And these temples have 3 pieces of paper, like I can't remember what they're called. They're called like lost texts or lost scrolls, maybe. And again, you just hold left trigger. You see where they are through walls, like the little white objective marker. You run around,
Mhm.
you pick up all 3. Sometimes you have to climb on top of like a 2-story building, which takes about 10 seconds, and that's like, oh shit, like that was more interesting than the last one. And then you do that, and then you get the completion, and you get a skill point. That's like maybe like 40-50% of those white question marks in the open world.
So lame. Yeah. I would so much prefer to have like assassinate this harder than usual guy, or like try to stealth around this place without getting seen, like something relevant. Like
I'm like, go
on. Just real fast, bringing back to Ghost of Tsushima.
Ooh, yes.
What they did right was that you had the fox temples, which is you'd just be walking the road, you'd see a fox, and then you'd follow it, and you'd chase it around, and eventually you'd get to a fox shrine, and it's hidden. And then you light some incense, and then boom, you got an ability point or whatever. Like it just felt so natural.
Yeah,
and it was so rewarding that like you didn't just press a button and it's like it's right here. Like you had to follow this animal, or sometimes you just stumble upon them, but most of the time you get led to them.
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison to draw, because to some extent you can levy the same criticism to Ghost of Tsushima, because although in my opinion they're handled better, which I'll talk about in a second. Oh, I just hit the fucking microphone. Apologies. In my opinion, they're handled better, which I'll talk about. But Ghost of Tsushima is still, you run to an objective and you're going to see like 1 of 5 or 1 of 6 things. But the difference in Ghost of Tsushima is, like you said, it's engagement. It's engagement, and it's like efficiency, and just not like wasting your time. Like you said, like following the fox, seeing or like catching the fox from like pretty far away, like, oh, is that a fox? And then you follow it, and then you do a little parkour challenge, and then you light the incense. Okay, fine, like kind of engaging. At least that was engaging gameplay a little bit. But going into
even though they had a lot of the similar ones, and Ghost of Tsushima, like kill these guys, bring this over here, talk to this person or something. They'd have like a little story with it,
Oh yeah,
like they'd have some
shit all the time.
Like, it was each one was unique, and whether you cared about the story or not was up to you. I honestly thought some were interesting and some were just like skip. But it was cool that they all were they were unique in that way, and there was something that let you remember them besides, oh, this is just a place where I randomly killed some people, or prayed 3 times or something like that.
It's that attention to detail.
Was kind of cool.
It's the attention to detail.
Yeah, attention to detail. Yeah,
it's making you feel like you've arrived somewhere that kind of existed before you. Like it's not just it's not just there because you're a player and it's a programming.
Yeah, this is different from the other place. I'm helping this old woman to save her daughter from the bandits that are on the bridge.
Yeah. Whereas in Assassin's Creed Shadows, like I say, a lot of those white question marks on the map are
When's
literally
the last
just
time
like
you prayed.
You walk into a courtyard. You walk into a courtyard and pray 3 times in little.
That sounds so monotonous.
In different areas that are like 20 feet away from each other.
Yeah,
horrible. But so back to the dual protagonist thing. I mentioned that you play as Nawe for like the significant first chapter of the game, but the other protagonist, as I'm sure you're probably aware of because he was subject to some ridiculous controversy for a long time, is Yasuke, the Black Samurai, and he's a very cool character in the game so far. He hasn't been in it very much because the first chapter is mainly focused on Nawe. But Yasuke is like you play the prologue as Yasuke, which is probably like 30 minutes long, and then you kind of don't see him again for like 10 hours of gameplay. At least that was the pace that I progressed through the game. Yeah. And he's really cool. Like he's like genuinely his place in the story, like at least at the beginning, is really interesting, and how it ends up and how that ends up kind of colliding and interacting with Nawe's story. It's quite cool, but I've only just kind of got around to that point because I'm kind of in chapter 2 right now, which is where they've kind of,
I saw the 0 punctuation summary of the game, and it seemed from his point of view that it was like far less, deep, that he was just kind of switching alliances to whatever, and it seemed to him at least very odd that he would do that.
Yeah, and on the other side, Naoe's story is very much your very basic revenge story. It's formatted
Yeah.
in the same way that a lot of these open world kind of combat games, or any kind of open world action game. So, like a lot of them have this, there's this group of people who are led by this one person, and you got to go and get them all, and it has a pretty cool objective screen where you can see all of your targets, and they all have like the clues listed out and what you need to do to find out more about them, and then you start ticking them all off like a list of people, basically like a chain of command. That's Naoe's side of the story, and Yasuke is kind of just play. I mean, he is initially on the other side. That's how he plays into this. But he does like, obviously it's not really a spoiler because it's the whole fucking point of the game. They are they team up and you get the dual protagonist system. Yeah.
I don't know how deep you are in it, but does he have his own story or is he just a part of her story?
So far, he's kind of a part of her story. Apart from like, there was a very brief prologue where you play exclusively as him, where he's but that it was very short. Yeah, I really don't know much about Yasuke yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wanted to talk about how that actually works with the dual protagonist system, because I kind of don't like it. Do you remember we talked about this when the game was like being marketed and how it looked kind of lame? Basically, all those things that I said seem to be kind of true. Like, when I'm playing as Yasuke, I just usually wish I was Naoe, and when I'm playing as Naoe, I'm glad I played as Naoe. Basically, that's how the whole game has. That's how the switch up has played out for me so far.
That makes sense. Like, as an outsider who hasn't played really any Assassin's Creed, I think like I tried one of the games and it just didn't gel with me. But having not played it, I would assume that the whole lure of Assassin's Creed is the assassination part, like the stealth, the one hit kills, the whole subtlety of it all, and like just having this samurai dude who, from what I hear, he just kind of barges in through walls. He just kind of swings his katana around like a soldier would.
I mean, at my point in the game, he physically can't assassinate. But I feel like I have seen gameplay of people assassinating as him, so maybe that happens later on in the story for me. But like the point I'm at right now, he literally can't assassinate. Like, I've tried, he can't assassinate people. He just hits them and opens combat. But he obviously, as a trade-off, he's very powerful. Like, all of his weapons, even if they are the same level, they do like significantly more damage than any of Naoe's weapons. And he's just like a 7-foot tall brute, and he's so strong that like his attacks just like send people flying, like these legit samurai soldiers. He just throws them around like the toys. It is cool.
I feel like there's two different ways they can approach the multi the multi character thing. Like, there's one way where you can just switch through them and it doesn't matter which one you are, and you can switch them pretty freely. And then there's games where like you have specific sections for each ones. And like depending on how they do that can be memorable, or that can just be like a chore, like, oh man, I don't want to play this guy. Like, I remember like GTA 5, like everyone had their favorite character that they'd play as, and then the guy that they're just like, oh, I'm him again, Yeah,
mine was Franklin.
So,
but yeah, I know what you mean. It kind of is like that, but it's also just the fact that I feel like Yasuke's limitations are way more significant than Naoe's, because Naoe is able to get anywhere on the map, obviously, and there's a lot.
I'm gonna guess that he can't climb like she can.
He can't climb like she can. No,
which for Assassin's Creed, even I know that's a huge part of the game, the parkour, right?
Yeah, not even close.
Right, just the freedom of climbing anything you can see.
Yeah, Naoe is extremely nimble, and there's a lot of stuff that you like. For example, every time you do like a castle, which is an area where you have to go and kill like 3 mini bosses, and then the chest opens. The chests are always like a lot, like most of the important things you have to do in an area are like on top of the building somewhere. There's always at least one thing that's on top of a fucking building somewhere. And some of them you can technically like go inside and climb up like 10 sets of stairs. Some of them. But some of them you do have to do some parkour. So I feel like that's a solid restriction. Whereas, Naoe is weaker in combat, but she can still kill all the enemies. It's just a bit more, I say difficult, it's just different. She can still kill all of the enemies that Yasuke can. He's just slightly better at it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I would rather play as the character who has no hard limitations, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He is
Yeah.
fun though, but like you said, I've really just been enjoying living the ninja fantasy. It's been really fucking fun for me. That's like the main reason I've enjoyed the game. And playing as Yasuke doesn't give me that same that same feeling at all.
I heard that there's something with the weapons where they don't scale as well. And like a lot of the time you should be getting one hit kills, but if you haven't like grinded out your weapon enough, you're not able to do that. Is that right?
Oh, I haven't really noticed. I don't know. I haven't paid
Okay.
attention to how the damage works so far. I've been like, so it's just basic. I'm sure you probably assumed basic damage. Sorry, level number systems. So your weapons like level 10, and then
Hmm.
your character levels up to level 11, and you have to go to a blacksmith and like upgrade all of your equipment. You can
Yeah.
either get new equipment that's like a level 11 or upgrade your stuff to level 11. You can do that with anything, which is what I've been
Hmm.
doing because I just
Okay.
found some gear that I like, and every time I level up, I just upgrade it all straight away. So I'm
Nice.
always like my gear's always on the same level. I haven't really been paying attention that much to how the damage works. It does feel a little bit strange sometimes, but there's also quite a few weapons, which is another cool thing because these weapons are so fucking cool. So when you're playing as Nawe, you get like a regular katana, which is just really fucking satisfying and aggressive. It really reminds me of Ghost of Tsushima. You know how like in Tsushima you would like the finishing animations, you'd like fucking jam your katana into people and like rip it through them and like really
Yeah.
gruesome animations like that.
Hmm.
This game is like that, but like probably a bit more visceral just due to it being a newer game and probably some slightly more advanced techniques. Really nice animation design, really good sound design, really
Nice.
fucking clean. There's also a Tanto, which is like in Ghost of Tsushima, it's what you use to assassinate people. But in this
Hmm.
game, you can just use it as a weapon, and it's a really fast knife. And again, the kill animations are just so cool, slitting people's throats and stabbing them 1,000 times and shit like that. And you can also use this weapon. I forget its name, but it's obviously like a traditional Japanese weapon. It's kind of like a sickle with a chain and a ball on the end.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can use a sickle or you can fling this little fucking ball around, and it basically acts like a area effect windmill turbine situation.
Oh nice.
Really nice, yeah. And then Yasuke has like a larger katana, and he can use like a really big kind of like some of the enemies using Tsushima, like a really big round stick with like spikes on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just
Nice.
smashes people through walls with it. Yeah, so like nice bit of weapon variety there because there's always something else you can use if you're like fed up of using a weapon. So I like that a lot.
All right. Cool.
Oof, okay, I think I covered Assassin's Creed Shadows pretty well. Like I said, I'm only
Hmm.
like 20 hours in. I'm only like Act 2 of the story, so I'll probably revisit Assassin's Creed Shadows because at the rate that I've been playing it, by next week's episode, I'll probably have played it like significantly more because I am still enjoying it. I played it before I got on this call. Like I'm still enjoying it, so
Yeah.
I'll
Give us
probably
an
have
update.
a yeah. I'll give you. I'll update on that next time. Or anything you wanted to talk about? Got a few topics to go through.
There's ones that Europe is saying games can no longer
Yeah,
use virtual currencies. I thought that was
yeah.
pretty interesting.
This is interesting. So, what does that mean exactly?
So, whenever you play like online, most online games and every online service game as a service, whatever they call it,
Live
they have the
service.
currencies that you buy with the money, and then you use the currencies you buy with the money to buy the items. And they'll
Good.
do, shady stuff like all the items cost 1,000, but you can only get currency in like blocks of 900 or something scummy like that.
Ugh,
Um,
disgusting.
so yeah, so there's going to be no more of that, and it was very predatory with how they did that with how much you could buy at a time, and then they tried to get you to buy more because you'd save more when you buy more, and then they'd have like so many different virtual currencies just to confuse you, and
Literally
it
just to
was
confuse you. Yeah.
yeah, it was so hard to keep track of. So now they just, at least in Europe, it's just a flat amount. This is how much I don't know, euros it would cost to buy
Hmm.
this item exactly,
And you just
Maybe
put your
there's some
card
tax, I
details
don't
in
know,
and
but
pay, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's no figuring out this crap like how
Mhm.
many points to $1 or anything, and it's upfront and it's right there, and I think I mean, it makes sense, you know. Like I wish they did that over here.
Yeah, in my opinion, that's a
So that's
huge like that's a
net
huge
net
step in the
good
right
for the
direction.
consumer.
Huge
Yes,
step in the right
very.
direction. Just
Hmm.
just just get rid of like these virtual currencies. Is there any pro consumer benefits to that at all? No. It's just
No.
designed to make you spend more money. It's only predatory. Only predatory.
The only thing I could think of is there's some games where the currency used to buy items can sometimes be earned through the game, like Helldivers 2.
Yeah, I didn't think
You
about
could
that.
buy
This is like
you
the
could
one case
buy
where it makes sense.
the war bonds,
Yeah.
through natural gameplay. So that's the one thing I would think of. Helldivers 2 had a great system. If you played the game enough, you'd earn your war bonds. You wouldn't have to pay a dime. You could get them all if you wanted to, if
I
you
bought
played enough of the
multiple
game.
with in
And
game.
it was something that wasn't like, oh, you'd have to be like 100 hours each. It was
No.
like it was a reasonable time that you
Reasonable.
could get
Yeah.
them. So it was great. That was an awesome system, and I'm not sure how something like that could work um, anymore with the way they're doing it now. But there could be workarounds or something. It could be something where um, the items are available to buy with the virtual currency, but you can't buy the
Mhm.
virtual
That's
currency.
what I was just about to say. Yeah, it would have to be
I
that.
don't know.
So
There
say
could be
for
some
example,
loophole or
yeah, it's
something.
the super credits in Helldivers. They would only be unlockable by playing. That's it. That's
Yeah,
how they'd have to
yeah,
make it work.
right. I mean, I'm hoping there's something for a system like that because I would hate to see that no longer be available because that's you know just having something that can only be bought. It's obviously terrible, but especially in games that you've
Whoa,
paid
you're
to buy.
invisible.
Oh, it's because this cat is right of it.
The cat's like the fucking cloak of invisibility from Harry Potter.
So yeah, like in games that you pay to buy, like obviously wanting to put more money into it isn't as, you can't reason that as much as you would when it's a free to pay game. Then you're like, okay, I'll toss in $5 or $10 because I've gotten a dozen hours out of this
Mhm.
game for free. Here's a little bit of money. Give me something that I want, like a skin or something. It makes more sense. But like, yeah, and especially with games going what, 60, $70 now,
Yeah.
and then they're wanting you to throw on top of it all this extra money. It's just doesn't look as good as a deal. So
Yeah, I think it's a huge move in the right direction. I think that just like you said, if you're gonna have a currency that you can earn in game, that should
mhm,
be separate. Like that should not be the same as the one that you pay money for. And there's a
yeah,
separate price. So it's like you either pay £10, £10, or you use 300 super credits. 300 super credits only comes from the game, and the $10 only comes from your bank account. That's it. I think that's the
yeah.
way forward, and I hope that
I
is
hope that's allowed
I hope
because
that extends outside of the
yeah,
EU as well, because that's a pretty fucking good idea.
yeah, I
Fuck that
like it too.
virtual currency bullshit.
All right, let me see. There's also talks of a video game union for the U.S. and Canada,
Yeah.
which would be excellent because we all heard about terrible work conditions in the industry as far as
Ugh,
crunch time,
heard such
hours
bad things.
worked, how they can just be laid off at the snap of a finger. Um, doesn't matter if your game is wildly successful.
Marvel
Marvel
Rivals.
Rivals, amazing game, and they laid off uh, most of a studio here
Yeah,
and it's
in
like,
Seattle.
Why? You know, so
Definitely need a
tons
bit
of
of protection.
layoffs.
Need some protection from that
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, definitely need some protection. It's very good that they have that, and
So
it's about time that
I'm assuming that's not a thing already. Then, like, are they not allowed to
no.
unionize? Is that like in their contracts or something?
I don't think it's not they're not allowed. It's that they're just so fractured that they
Yeah.
haven't been able to get the unity to get something up.
Hmm.
And I think the same is for CGI artists. They're
Oh
going through a
shit.
lot of
Yeah.
the similar things where they're working a lot of hours. They're not getting the pay they should be. They're just getting dropped, at the end of a project like nothing. It's hard to find work. Um, and they definitely need a union too. But I mean, they're just so fractured. They're all over the place. There's so many different companies of them, but they definitely do need a union
Yeah, and
as well. So
it's kind of funny because, like, I feel like, especially if you're young and and you love games, like I do, then that
mhm.
idea of being a games developer sounds like the dream job. But honestly, I've heard such fucking awful. Like this goes back like 20 years as well, because I remember even like in games like the original Halo games, the crunch was fucking ridiculous. Like in all of the video documentaries that you can watch about even these classic games, they're all like sleeping in their offices with no overtime pay and shit
Mm,
like that. Like it's been a
yeah,
thing forever. This isn't like new. Like game developers are really kind of mistreated quite a lot.
yeah.
I don't know if it's just because of if it's just the nature of that kind of job to the point where people think they can take advantage of them a little bit. Same with CGI
hmm
artists. I don't really know, but they go through some shit. It really doesn't sound that pleasant. I think a lot of them are quite unhappy with that, or in general,
Yeah.
for that
It,
reason.
it's very telling when a company, will publicly declare no crunch time for our devs. Like it's some very rare thing that they would do.
Yeah.
It's and yeah, I've been hearing about it for as long as I can remember. So it's definitely something that's been needed for quite some time.
Like, when was the last time you heard about a big game release that didn't involve like a chaotic crunch?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
never. It's
I
like
feel
every
I feel
game.
like even back during the cartridge days, they had some games where, you know, and I've only heard now about the stories of games back then where they were really pushed to,
Hmm.
you know, get games out there during a certain season or holiday or whatever. And a lot of games, they had to cut stuff or they had to, really, uh, really crunch to get it
Hmm.
out. So it just seems like it has, as far as I can remember, just been
You'd
part of
think
the
that if
industry, which is
you'd think that if they get that shit out by now, like got better at organizing and things. But I don't think it's that. I think it's just the fact that like large companies like this are just cheap. Like they don't want to, they don't want to give too much to any of this staff. They always want to do the bare minimum. But for the people who do like the people on the bottom of the ladder who do the dirty work, who do the grind,
mhm,
who stay up all
mhm,
night working, these people get nothing. Like they don't get a thank you. They don't get any kind of appreciation from like the suits at the top. Like this just always happens. They're always mistreated. They're always taken advantage of because these people know that like they can get away with kind of paying them and treating them as the bare minimum, and they'll still do it. I think that's just kind of become industry standard now, which is a shame, and
it is,
it's good
it's
that they're
just
unionizing.
yeah, it's just become so normalized that it's just to be expected now,
Yeah, they expect it. Like
which
the staff
is,
themselves expect
imagine
it.
how many people got turned away from the industry who would be amazing, contributions in whatever they do, and they're just not able to handle it because, it's rough, man. Like it's really rough, and we shouldn't be treating people like that. We should definitely be having, you know, um, I would think we'd have some sort of protections for them, but obviously without unions, there's none of that. So
Yeah, and like you
yeah,
said, you can
the
just
the
get fucking
people who
laid
are
off.
making yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, and these are the people who are like, in the nitty gritty, like designing the systems and doing the assets and the art and all that stuff. And
Yeah,
they don't even get as much recognition as
these are
as they
the
should be.
actual creatives, the creative people who
Hmm.
like they have something that they're doing something special with their minds to have a vision and create things with artistic value, and those are the ones that get thrown
Yeah,
around.
and
And like,
and a lot of time it's just attributed to the studio, and like,
yeah,
and how many times do you know that, like, it's the studio gets a good recognition because of what the work these people do, and
yeah,
then what happens? They fire these people, and the company just completely changes. Like Ship of Theseus. Over time, the
Ship
whole
of
company,
Theseus.
Theseus, yeah, yeah, the whole company just slowly changes, and before you know it, it's the same name, but they just don't have the quality they use, and that's because they're getting rid of these people at the
Yeah,
bottom. You know, Either they're getting rid of them or they're leaving because they can't stand
Leaving,
the
yeah.
kind of work that they're forced to do.
The same for
It's bad. It's bad for the industry. Bad for the artists. It's bad for the consumer, and honestly, it's bad for the companies because it lowers the quality of the. It's bad all around. It's about time we got something to fix it. So
yeah.
I hope this works out pretty well.
You know what else makes me feel sad on that topic as well is like we already kind of talked about it, so I won't spend too long on it. But the huge leaks. Imagine how heartbreaking and like soul destroying that must be. Like the worst one. I mean, obviously, there's like I think officially the biggest leak has to be the GTA 6 one because GTA 6 is such a huge game. But in terms of biggest as in worst, was the one that we talked about with Sam, the Insomniac leak, where like all of their future games for the next 10 years got leaked with some gameplay. And also like the personal information of every like all of their staff was leaked as well. And it's like imagine you've been working on a game for like 5 years and then some little fucking some little geek online comes along and just fucking ruins your whole like ruins everything you've been working on for this significant portion of your life that you've poured your heart and soul into. Ugh.
Yeah, unfortunate. There's also some Nintendo ones like the Switch 2. That they wanted it to be a surprise, but no, that didn't happen. We were getting photos of factory models and stuff far before they even wanted us to know about that.
Yeah.
And speaking of Nintendo, there was the Pokemon leak, which was a lot of the assets and info and stuff of just a whole pile of assets and information from the Pokemon games, and there was some like what would you call it? There was some sexualization of Pokemon that was
what? What the fuck? Are you looking at the right leak? What the fuck?
I don't know the specifics. I just know that there was like some people who can no longer look at the same Pokemon the same because of the things they heard from that leak.
Now, please enlighten me. What the fuck are you talking about? What was leaked that was sexual?
So I didn't look enough into it because I honestly didn't want to know. But something that the developers said about the Pokemon. I don't know if they had stories that they had made about them or something, or fanfics from the devs.
Bro,
something was really shady, and like now literally people can't look at their favorite Pokemon the same way anymore because of
your cat just wiped you out.
How they were done wrong.
It looked like he clotheslined you off your chair. But yeah, that's fucking okay. Yeah, enough of that. I don't want to fucking know. I don't know why I asked. Enough of that.
Yeah. Let's get away from that. Let's ignore that happened.
This is an interesting.
Don't Google it. If you're watching this, don't Google it. Don't
Google it. This is an interesting thing that you brought up to me the other day. The fact that I don't remember who collected this data. You can tell me, I guess, but apparently 92% of people who play games play older games. Like, what does that mean?
I think that just means that just think back to what some of your favorite all-time games are, and like how willingly you'd be able to just like go back and play them at any time. And there's definitely a bunch of classics like even something like Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch, like they're actually several years old and they're still played a lot. League of Legends. I mean, just look at the top list of the most popular games like Minecraft, Fortnite,
Rocket League. Yeah, but like
Rocket League. These are all games that are like years old and still they're topping the charts,
Yeah, these games are still supported though. Like Minecraft had an update the other day. Fortnite has updates every fucking 5 seconds. Team Fortress 2, I don't know about that.
Right.
But yeah. I think so for live service, I don't know. I feel like you're pushing the definition of a new game a little bit. Or an old game. Because and also when they say play, do they mean like play every week, every month, every year? Like, do they go to revisit an old game? Because yeah, I'd say that's probably 100% of gamers. But
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of gray area with the definition of what is it? What is the definition of an older game? What is the definition of play?
Yeah,
But I think it's just an interesting fact that
it is
a
an
lot of
interesting
people
fact.
are playing games that aren't recent, and even people who do play recent games, they very often go back to old games.
Hmm.
Um, like especially when a new game's coming out. How often will you go back and play the previous one, either because you
Yeah,
never played it before, you didn't beat it, or you just want to get back in the mood, or or refresh yourself on the story? Like, and sometimes you want to play a game with a friend like that's a bit older that you never got around to. You got that's on your list,
yeah.
but it's not it's not crap. It's something good, and especially if it hasn't been a while since a new game has come out that's really caught your attention. You just want to find something to sink your teeth into, and oftentimes just look back and there's something that you haven't played that you've heard a lot of great things about,
Yeah.
and sure enough, it could keep your attention till whatever next comes up.
Yeah. Are there any old games? I'm gonna say old. I'm gonna define old games as in like not counting live service. Are there any old games that you revisit like on a somewhat regular basis, or have
Th-
not like
that I do.
repeatedly, but or have? Yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, there's some like fighting games I'll play with my friends. Like let's go back and play some Street Fighter 4, or some King of Fighters or something like that.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. I have never got into those.
it's been a while since I played emulation, but I mean that's another huge one. Emulation is obviously something that's been around for a while, and when you're emulating, it's very much something that's older. Um, and yeah, you can, and thanks to a lot of the emulators, you can actually play that online with your friends.
Yeah,
And some sites even allow you to play it in browser now,
yeah. I've seen those.
which
Yeah,
which is very cool.
that's very cool.
Um, yeah. But as far as older games, um, like Monster Hunter, when
Mm, yeah.
Wilds was coming out, Worlds got a huge uptick
Yeah, it did.
in players.
Mhm.
Either it was people who were going back to finish the game they never did, or maybe they just got in the mood for it, or like I said, they just wanted to brush up on their skills or their gameplay and kind of get familiar with it again. So stuff like that.
Yeah, I have like quite a lot. I mean, I own a Steam Deck, and the Steam Deck is like the perfect console. Obviously, because it can't really run, at least to a satisfying degree for me, like
Hmm.
very modern, like very like visually intense games. The Steam Deck's just not really made for that. It'll chug a little bit. Still, I mean, you can play it. I'm sure like a lot of people do play like all the newest games on it, but for me, I'd rather just play like new games on PS5 or on PC.
Hmm.
So I use it to play like I got really into Hades, which is only a few years old, but still an old game. Like recently, I got really into Hades, which is
Yeah,
like
Hades is
a
good.
like a top down roguelike. Hades.
Hmm.
Game of the year. Was it
Yeah,
game of the year? I think it was game of the year.
if it doesn't, it deserve to be.
Yeah. I got
But
really into
yeah,
Hades
me,
and
I've
Risk
been
of
playing
Rain.
with my a newer game with my friend, Windblown. Um, it's made from the people who made Dead Cell.
Oh, I've heard
I
of
don't know
Dead
if you
Cell.
played that.
I haven't played it, but I know of Dead Cell quite well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Popular
It's
roguelike.
like a 2D platformer roguelike,
Mhm.
and but the gameplay is similar to Hades, where it's like a
Oh, really?
top-down 3D. Yeah, yeah, really fun. But it's got co-op up to like 3 or 4 players or something.
Oh, nice.
Really fun to play.
Yeah,
It's great that
Hades
they have
doesn't
so
have
many
co-op,
different builds.
does it?
No,
No,
no, it doesn't.
didn't think so.
Unfortunately.
That would
Yeah.
be cool. That would be cool though.
So yeah, so that's what made that fun.
Have you played
But
Risk of Rain 2 with have you played Risk of Rain 2 full stop?
I was gonna bring that up
Yeah.
on the topic of older games. Like
Yeah.
we do play that every now and then. Me and my friends will just be like, let's play some Risk of Rain or something.
It's great. It's fucking
It's just
great.
an old classic that you can just jump in on any time.
Yeah.
Do a run or two on it, and like hey, that was fun,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what's great about old games is that they're familiar. You already have them downloaded, and another thing, especially for PC, is that when there's sales going on, you can get these games for like dirt cheap.
Oh, like pennies.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, like games that were like 40, 50, $60. Now they're like $5, $10, something like that, and it's much easier to spend money on this and not know if you're going to enjoy it or not, if it's only like, the price of a meal or something.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
not only are you more likely to buy it, but you're more likely to, just look at it, period. And that's I hear that console games don't,
No, I was about to say
have
that,
that.
I was about to say that's a huge benefit of owning a PC. Even
Mhm.
if you own like a not great PC, like
Yeah.
it's almost worth buying like a mid or slightly lower end pre-built or laptop
Right.
just for the
Like
fact that
having like an entry level PC right now, you could
is
run games like from 5
yeah,
years ago and back, like just all
easily
those.
on an entry level PC, as long as you're buying from like a a company who kind of knows what they're doing. An entry level
Mhm.
PC now, like there's so many games that are probably like £10 on Steam right
Mhm.
now that are just fantastic, and your PC will just run them easily on like on
Yeah.
like a low end PC. Honestly, it's
Mm.
never like there's never really been a better time to buy like a low end pre built. I feel like that's a no brainer for a lot of people who want to get
And
into
even
PC.
a lot of modern games, especially indie games, they're just not that graphically intensive.
No, yeah,
Like you said, Risk of Rain is one, or like Deep Rock Galactic.
yeah,
Like they kind of lean into those old style graphics,
they
or
do.
Valheim, stuff like
Valheim's
that.
great. Yeah,
You can have great gameplay, and it doesn't have to look like some AAA studio game or something. And it, it's it really opens the door for how much you can get out of not having much money.
hmm
And yeah, it makes sense that people would be playing these old games, especially when, you know, I mean, it's just logic. There's so many more games that are considered old than the games that are considered new. Like what was it, 92% the stat they were throwing at?
yeah,
I mean, it's probably like depending on what you determine as an old game, like say it's more than 3 years old. Um, Probably like 99% of video games that existed are probably old, under that definition.
yeah,
So I
exactly.
think just through the numbers, it makes sense.
Oh yeah, of
But
course.
also
It's
like
just an interesting topic.
there's just so much more. And another thing for PC at least, you don't have to worry about if it was on a previous console or something.
Nah, yeah, you don't have to
Like
worry
with
about it at all.
consoles, if it was on the previous generation, depending on what system you have, you could be screwed.
Yeah,
Like and also with consoles, you have to worry about it. Is it supported online and all that? Yeah. So it's cool that on PC, if it was on PC in the past, it can be on PC now. There may be some workarounds needed, but for the most part,
no, for the most part,
it's
it's
you got
fine.
a massive library to work on. So you might as well take advantage of it. I think that's what people are doing.
Yeah, like I said, Risk of Rain 2. Well, when I first got my Steam Deck, that was when I first tried Risk of Rain 2 because I already owned it on Steam, and that's the great thing about having a
Yeah.
Steam Deck. You can just download all because like if you've had Steam in the past, which like everyone has, all of
Hmm.
these old games that you might not have cared about like at your desktop PC, all of a sudden
Yeah.
you can play these like hundreds of old games that you already own on a
Hmm.
handheld, which takes these games that you've been ignoring for 10 years to like a whole different level. Like
Yeah.
I just download any random shit. Like I spent like a week on Left 4 Dead 2 just like running
Hmm.
through the whole thing on the I just forgot the name, on the Steam Deck, because that's just such a novel thing to do. Does that make sense? I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, I'm
Yeah.
playing Left 4 Dead 2 in like
Yeah. I mean, I
genuinely
had the
good
same
quality
thing
on Steam Deck.
with. I remember when I had a laptop that was just garbage.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly a netbook, but it wasn't far from it. It was pretty low spec, and I couldn't do much on it. But still, there was some games that I could play on it. Like I think it was Into the Void. Um, I don't know if you've heard of that one.
You mentioned it on the show before, I think, but I haven't heard of it.
Uh, or is it Into the Breach? It's been so long. Into the Breach. That's what it is. Yeah. Um, and I hadn't played that game much on PC, or on my desktop, I should say. But when I was on my laptop, either when I was traveling or when I just couldn't be at home, like I just played the crap out of that game. It was so fun. I didn't even realize it. And it was only when I was forced to play it because I couldn't play anything else. I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
actually a pretty cool game. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure having a portable system is just like that. It
Oh,
makes you
it's
look at
crazy.
games differently.
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
with
and what
especially
a what
Steam.
a what a what a big brain move it was to release the deck. Like Like, they
Yeah.
have some genius level marketing over there at Steam to think like, let's just do what Nintendo did with the Switch, but make it a PC, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
and
that's brilliant. And now they're licensing out the
yeah,
OS.
the OS, yeah.
Yeah. So now like other companies like I think it was Lenovo or something
Mm-hmm.
are making portable consoles that use the Steam
It is
OS.
Lenovo, I think, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's great that they're doing that. You know, who knows? We could see maybe consoles that are like that, you know? Like,
I wouldn't doubt it. Also, since you
yeah.
mentioned Steam OS, the fact that the Steam Deck is on Steam OS means that you can very easily in like 5 minutes just download an emulator. My
Mm,
friend has an emulator that he downloaded very quickly where you can just play like any PS3 and any Xbox 360 game, like all of them, every single
oh
one,
yeah.
like downloaded,
Oh
and
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
all like the pack that he has downloaded. They're all just ready to play on Steam Deck, like they work immediately.
I think the most impressive thing about the Steam OS is that it's Linux.
It is
And
Linux,
that
yeah,
for so long, Linux has been like the joke of the gaming community.
yeah.
Like, like right up there with Macintoshes for having, the lowest compatibility with games. But Steam has really been working on compatibility with it and wrappers or whatever they use to get around it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the fact that there's so many games supported on it now just shows how long it's come. And there could be a day when like Windows and Steam OS are,
Competing.
you're having to choose between the two,
Yeah.
because Windows obviously drops the ball a lot for for being the designers of the OS. The way that they make like the Windows uh store, it's so terrible.
Oh, it's
Like, how do you do
shocking.
such a garbage job with that? Knowing how your own OS works, you can't even make a working marketplace for it. I'm not just talking about their terrible interface or their design choices or even the game selection. I'm just talking about basic functions of a store,
Yeah, have you
like they
used
can't
their
even get that.
have you used their Xbox app as well on
Oh
PC?
yeah. Oh yeah.
That's even
Yeah. Just
worse.
as terrible. Just as terrible.
That like
Like
broke
I have
people's
trouble logging
systems.
in,
Yeah.
staying logged in, playing games I owned, getting the subscription that I've paid for to work, switching accounts, recognizing that I'm still signed in, just freaking launching,
Yeah.
updating. There's so many basic features of that just are so seamless on Steam that I take for granted
Yeah.
that are just absolute hurdles
We
on
do
these
take it
other
for granted, really, don't we?
platforms.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. If you ever want to realize how great you have it on Steam, just use any other,
Like,
launcher.
do you
And
remember Origin and shit like that?
yep. I was
Oh,
just about to mention
fuck
Origin.
Origin.
That's another atrocious.
Fuck
Like,
Origin. That one was so bad. I
yeah.
remember every time I launched it, it would take like 2 minutes. It would take
Yep.
like 2 minutes to launch every time. And if
Oh
you
yeah, it
wanted,
took forever to launch it.
if you
There
could
was
buy the games on Steam, I don't remember exactly
Mhm.
how it worked, but you could like own the games on Steam, but you'd click on them on Steam and they'd still open Origin, which would
and
take like
it
2
required
minutes
you to
again.
use the Origin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, disgusting.
It was
Fucking
really
disgusting.
bad.
That's
Same
gone now,
same
right?
issues, just terrible. Can't even get the basic features to work.
Yeah.
The in-game interfaces are awful.
Oh god.
If they're not just hard to navigate or unresponsive, they just flat out don't work. Or how many times have we tried to like just message or invite a friend and like either you can't figure out or you have figured it out and you don't know where to look or you don't know if you got it yet or are you clicking it, nothing's happening. It's
Yeah.
inexcusable, honestly, how absolutely terrible they are for what they're trying to sell.
I
Like,
believe Origin is no longer around. Is that true?
I I think they changed it. Um, I think it's like the EA app now or
Oh,
something.
okay.
Like they rebranded and maybe updated. Although I bet they just slapped a new UI on it and kept all the crap in the background.
It lives on in spirit.
Knowing EA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Its evil spirit lingers.
Ubisoft's Uplay is also really, really bad. That one was as well as being infamous for like
Mhm.
bugs, it was also infamous for being very like unsecure. Like multiple of my friends got hacked on it a few more than
Wow.
one time. I don't know if that's to do with like I don't think that's the same thing That's probably more like to do with Ubisoft's integral security.
I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised.
Jesus Christ, I know multiple people who had their details stolen off Uplay. Like 2 or 3 people, and one of them it happened to twice because he played Rainbow Six Siege quite a lot, and he got his account stolen twice, and he had to go through hell to get it back off Ubisoft as well, both times. Oh yeah. God.
Speaking of rebranding, it's no longer Uplay. It's like Ubisoft Connect.
Ubisoft Connect, yeah.
Something dumb. I just played a game with my brother. We had found something on sale. It was like Ghost Recon, an old Ghost Recon game.
Ooh, which one?
And it was like it's $5.
Wildlands.
Breakpoint.
Oh, Breakpoint is the newest one. So Wildlands came out before, but Breakpoint's the one that's kind of in like Greenlands, like forests and shit like that with drones. It's got drones in it.
Yeah. And and when we played it, when we started up, it forces you to run the Uplay app, of course. And so like half the time you start it up, the Uplay app doesn't start up. Or the Uplay app does start up and asks you to log in again, even though you already logged in.
Yeah.
Or like he logged in before and he's only logged in on one account. He only has one account. And he'll get an error that like the game is not registered under the account or like a different account. Stupid errors that are just pop up. Like, what is happening? You know? it's something else. Like, and they wonder why they're not successful because shit like this, right?
Mm-hmm. You don't get any of this with Steam. You don't get any of this with Steam.
No,
never,
ever.
Ever.
It's just so smooth. It just when I start it, it goes, and like everything just works. I think the only hiccup I'll have every now and then is like a game might not sync its save games or something, and then I just press the update button right there on the games page, and it updates.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, even other launchers have that issue where like, can't update game sync, and so I'll update and I'll restart the game and I'll restart the client and it still won't update. Like,
yeah,
it's so frustrating. Yeah, definitely prefer it beyond Steam.
This is
honestly, a lot of my friends, it's a selling point. Like if they have to buy a game and it has to be launched in Origin, they'll just no, I won't buy it.
I think it is, because like I remember when this was kind of like 2019, so a few years back, or 2020. I don't remember when the Master Chief Collection came out on PC, but that was a big deal. And I remember a lot of my friends saying that, like, or a lot of people in general saying that the fact that it was on Steam kind of sold it for them, because obviously being Halo, I think a lot of people were under the impression that it would just come out on the Microsoft Store on PC, which I was under that impression as well. But they announced that it was coming out on Steam, and I think that sold it to a lot of people because they were like, yes, just be on Steam, please. But you had to log into Microsoft anyway. So that wasn't, I
remember Overwatch came on Steam, and like it got a huge boost of players, not just because, now they saw it on Steam, but also because, probably because they didn't like the Blizzard launcher, which Blizzard launcher isn't as bad as some of these, but it still has its issues. Like
I think I remember issues with the Blizzard launcher on because I used to play a lot of Call of Duty on PC, and that would run into some issues with their downloads and shit. I remember that.
Yeah. I had to set it so when I launched a game, it would close the Blizzard launcher because I used to just let it run in the background, but the resources would just rocket up on that.
Oh my god,
it was terrible. I'd watch it every time, and I'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
That's the opposite of what you want in a games launcher.
yeah. This wasn't just when it was just idling when I'm not playing a game. It also happened when I am playing a game, and I have it set to not download anything when I'm playing a game. Stuff like that. I know about those settings, and yet still the resources are just out of whack for what they should be.
That is funny.
So, yeah. And don't you hate it when when you open it up at Steam, I can open it up and I can see my library, How many of these things you open it up and the first thing you see is the market page, or it throws ads on you.
Like 5 pop-ups.
Yeah. And like on Steam, at least you can turn that off, the introductory ad. I want to say ads, but really they're just like, newest products. I actually
can you turn them
left
off?
that on.
I didn't know you could.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can turn it on. I left them on though because it's neat. Like I'll be like, oh cool, that's out. I'll just flip through them real fast because it kind of gives me an idea of what's new and latest, and Sometimes there's just updates, or sometimes there's games that I was following that I forgot about.
Yeah, and usually it's good
And
sales.
yeah, and it's not just like the big store page that is just slamming in my face or anything. I can just go straight to my games if I wanted to. Although I do have one bitch about the Steam client. I used to double click the Steam client and the system tray, and you could set it to open your friends list, which
Okay.
is what I most oftenly use to recall the client for.
Right. Okay.
But now you can't do that anymore. It has to
Oh.
go to the store page or your library, and
No, that's a shame.
I'm kind of pissed about that. But otherwise, not
Put it
not many
back.
qualms about it.
Yeah. This is kind of a really random topic that I, I didn't plan for. But have you ever seen like the YouTuber Carl Jobs, or like the YouTube channels who expose people like cheating speedruns and shit?
Oh yeah. Those are nice.
I love those. Like those are like, whenever I see one of those videos, I click it straight away. I don't know why, but something about that is so satisfying. Just like,
yeah, something about like and for me, like the explainer videos for speedruns, where like it talks about the history of a speedrun, that of sometimes games I've never played before. They're just so interesting to me.
There's a
like
big
to,
channel.
to
I
hear
think
about
it's
all these.
tomato. I'm gonna say tomato anus, but I know it's tomato anus. But I'm saying tomato anus anyway. Is his? He's like the big, like one of the larger ones for like speedrun explained, and those just like, oh, when I first discovered that speedruns are a thing that people do like all the time, that was such a great time for me, because I used to sit and watch like you know those like GDQ shows and shit like that.
Yeah.
I used to just love, like, I would just sit there and wait like whenever they were on for the VODs to go up, and I just sit and watch them all. Like, so good.
They're
But
so cool.
especially when there's some entertaining people on the couches and shit. Honestly, it's top content. It's really,
and about
fucking good
GDC is
content.
the great thing about GDC is you're getting context as you play it, or
Yeah.
as they play it.
From the
They're
couch.
actually telling you, oh, this trick here was only discovered last week for a game that's 8 years old, and it actually saved 2 minutes of time, and it's pixel accurate, and it takes you gotta go. You only have 3 milliseconds to. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, the Halo ones are particular favorites for me. Also, there's a guy who does. There's a guy called.
Speaking of which, there was a guy who did a Halo one who was so terrible about it that like they stopped doing.
Cody Miller.
Something like
Cody
that.
Miller,
yeah.
There's a ton of like documentaries on this motherfucker.
Oh man, I ate that one up.
This guy, that guy killed Halo speedrunning for like years.
Yeah, he was so bad at it.
Yeah.
Oh man, just
am I gonna have to check his name,
like,
because I feel like I should. Is it Cody Miller? Yeah, his name's fucking Cody Miller. This motherfucker. You got invisible again.
Yeah, that's all right. Cat's crawling over the camera.
Yeah, Cody Miller, basically, for context, Cody Miller was a Halo speedrunner, like, as in, he would, I don't know if he, well, so back then, because this was a really long time ago, this was like early 2010s or whatever, it wasn't standard to live stream your speedruns, because people weren't really doing that back then. So people would just upload their, like, recorded runs, if that makes sense. Which meant that it was prime for faking, but obviously there was a lot of trust in the community back then. So I don't think people really expected anyone to fake runs, or at least not noticeably, because he still uploaded the run that was convincing enough that people believed he was good at like playing Halo Combat Evolved. But so then he got invited to GDQ, which is like which is a live in-person speedrunning event, which is very popular. I'm sure everyone knows what that is. But this was back in its like early days, so it wasn't like a big theater. It was more of just like a basement. I think it literally was a basement. They used to do it in the basement, GDQ. And he was there, and he was fucking terrible at Halo. I think it took him like a couple of hours to finish the game.
Oh, it's terrible. He just kept dying over and over. And like by that time, everyone was just like dead inside. They're just like, oh, please, just be over.
And the people on his couch were trying so hard to like save him and like just like save the show and kind of boost his his ego and boost his spirits a little bit. But basically it took him like 4 times as long as the like the estimated time. Yeah, he ended up like quadrupling it, and it was supposed to be a legendary difficulty speedrun, which is the hardest difficulty. But by
And
like,
then he had to turn down
by
the
like
difficulty.
by halfway through or less than halfway through the run, he turned from legendary down to heroic and then down to normal, which is like I don't know if anyone's played Halo recently, but like normal difficulty is fucking easy.
Yeah.
Like easy is for babies. Like that's what I was playing when
you
I
go
when I
to
was a
heroic
baby.
when you're at the most difficult parts of legendary, and even then people would be like, "Oh, come on," you know.
Like, come on, yeah. Like normal on Halo is basically easy because easy is kind of for babies. And he switched down to normal, and then I think by the time the end of the run came around, he went back to heroic, but still not legendary. So he technically didn't complete the run because it was supposed to be a legendary speed run. But anyway, he ended up like quadrupling his estimated time, and because that run was so bad, GDQ created a rule called the Halo rule, and I don't remember. I don't remember exactly what the rule stated, but I think it was just.
Yeah.
I think the gist of it was that you really have to vet the people who are coming on the show to make sure they're not fucking idiots. And anyway, what ended up coming up from that was that Cody Miller was a cheater. He spliced all of his pre-recorded speedruns in the past.
Yeah.
Which was that's a pretty early example of someone cheating their fucking speedruns.
And you were talking about the videos that call out people who are cheating speed runs. One of my favorite ones was a streamer, and she would do blind
Monster Hunter
speed runs of Monster Hunter. Yeah,
this is why I brought it up.
Yeah, and like I remember seeing those videos. I'm like, wow, she's good. She did those blind. Like I have trouble, playing that guy, just with eyes. And I've played him over and over, and he's still hard. And then I saw the video about, and first I was skeptical, like the whole thing, like, oh, she's a girl, so guys don't believe it, But I'm like, I'll watch the video, I'll hear what they have to say. And sure enough, they had called out some pretty interesting things that she did, like you could see the glow of the monitor on her, or how
this actually happened. So the person that her name is Queen. I say was as if she's like fucking dead or something. It is Queen Pones a lot. That's the name of the person.
Okay, creative name.
There was a creative name. Yeah, there was 2 levels to this because this happened twice. The first one was she was wearing like a red, like one of those blindfolds that are really unconvincing. The ones that look like they're just very thin.
Yeah,
that was the first time it happened. She was wearing one of those that was just an actual blindfold, like in the most literal sense.
Yeah.
And she'd be playing and she'd be sat like this, as if she was like looking at the monitor, like getting really into it, but with a blindfold on. But then people realized that the way she was playing, because other people who run, what's the name of that boss from Monster Hunter? Is it Alatreus?
Yeah. Yep.
Is that the name?
Something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, other people who blindfold run that boss, obviously you're blind, which means you can't see. So the camera is just kind of, like aimed all like wherever the camera goes naturally.
Yeah.
Some people choose to lock on, but some people don't, which means the camera just looks at the sky or looks at the ground,
right,
or whatever. But Queen Pones a lot's camera was always manually tracked, like facing toward the boss, and everyone's like, "How are you doing that shit if you're blind?" Because you can't like audio cue the camera. That's not possible. There's no way that her camera should be able to track the boss unless she locked on, which she wasn't. She didn't play locked on.
Yeah, and there's so many different points of evidence. There was some moves that don't have audio cues, and of course you're completely going by audio cues, and she'd dodge them every time, which was another red flag. There was times when I remember someone was I don't know if they had left her game or rejoined their game or something, and she had commented on it, and like, how could she know that if she didn't see the messages on her screen?
Yeah. So that's the
there was
yeah.
I remember when she was moving her mouse to do something with OBS in another window. Like you could tell that she was using a dual monitor setup. Like she had to drag her mouse from the other screen. Some really questionable stuff that individually, you maybe didn't mean much, but like all together, all these different things, like you're like, Okay, yeah, that's really shady, right?
Yeah, so that whole third monitor debacle was the second time.
Mhm.
The first time
Yeah.
was just a sketchy blindfold that she could quite obviously see through because it wasn't convincing at all. It just looked very
Mhm.
thin, you know, like a thin scarf, like a dress scarf. But there's
Yeah.
but then after she got called out for that, I believe it was because Asmongold picked up the video and Asmongold was like watching the stream and he was like not really skeptical, but he was like, "This is like fucking unbelievable." And maybe he
Mhm.
commented on like, you know, how is she moving the camera and shit like that. But he at the end of the day, he wasn't skeptical. Like he was acting as if he believed the, you know, he was acting as if it was a cool feat,
Yeah.
like a cool achievement. But then like people
Mhm.
looking into it and they realized that she probably could see through that blindfold. So like in response, he bought like, you know, the big professional blindfolds, which are like a pair of
Yeah.
scuba goggles that are black.
Mhm. Mhm.
She wore one of them, but like the first big red flag is that she kind of was wearing it like this, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Which was like,
Yeah.
if
There's some shots where you could
yeah,
actually see her eyes
see her
from
eye,
underneath. From underneath.
yeah,
And she wasn't like, you know, like head down like that.
no,
She
she was
was
like
kind of
this.
looking a bit upward.
She sat like
Yeah, she was
this,
like this in her chair. And she didn't have like
like this.
cameras looking at the monitors or anything. Yeah, right.
No, but she
There's just so much shady stuff about
she
that.
wanted the viewers to believe that she only had two screens, which are the ones that you can kind of see, like on her camera. There was like one here and one in front of
Yeah.
her. But then, like,
Mhm.
but then after she put the paper over those two, which she wanted us to believe were the only two, after she put
Yeah.
the paper on them, she'd be like this, and then she'd start reading her chat like this.
Oh
And then,
yeah, when she was
yeah.
reading her chat when her
Yeah.
monitors were supposed to be off. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, isn't it insane? And
so many red flags, man.
But
like,
one time
crazy.
she started reading a chat message, and the chat message was something
Mhm.
like, "Oh, please upload the whole unedited VOD," and she went like this. Oh yeah, don't worry, it'll be unedited. And she realized that she just fucked up and read the chat, so she stops herself mid sentence, and then she goes, and then she kind of goes like this and pretends to read it normally and then continues to respond. And we're like, what the fuck? You just fucking you just like telepathically read a chat message because both of her screens are covered in paper. So yeah, that person, Queen Pwn's lot, was a cheat. I don't know what's going on with that now, but anyway, that was why I brought up the Carl Job stuff, because we were talking about Monster Hunter, and I just think that was so interesting because it was such a, you know,
very interesting.
It's very dedicated.
I love it when internet detectives get on a case like that, and then like they really put all the clues together.
Honestly, and, if you want to see a good investigation, like a really in-depth investigation, don't go to the fucking CIA. Don't go to the fucking FBI. Make a fast speedrun. Make a fast speedrun, and then you'll see true detective skill.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
there's some good ones.
That was a random side tangent.
Quality content.
Carl Job's YouTube channel is like is known as being like the best for those, because he covered like Dream and stuff back in the day when Dream was out and things like that. Really big.
And I think Summoning Salt is one that does covers a lot of. I don't know if just speedruns or just video game type documentary stuff that's just so great to.
Yeah.
So great to watch. Okay.
But yeah, that was just a random side tangent because you brought up Monster Hunter earlier and I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Do you wanna should we talk about Discord potentially going public and what that might mean?
Sure, yeah.
So tell me, what might that mean?
I mean, what people are screaming is ads, advertising, you know, all that kind of crap.
Yeah, I can't see it. I think they know that would just ruin them forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I mean, on one hand, they got to make money if they go public. But like I couldn't imagine them doing that either, you know. What I think would also happen is I remember they used to have the Nitro, which is like, what was it, like $5 at some point?
I think they still have Nitro.
Well, they had Nitro. The Nitro was $5, and it was just Nitro, and that was it. But now they have like different tiers of it, and you're smacking my face with your tail. And now they have multiple tiers of it. And like,
I didn't know they had tiers.
Yeah, they have tiers now, and and like a lot of the stuff that was on the file on the cheap. I want to say the cheap tier, but it was the only tier. And they put a lot of stuff on the expensive one, and they just kind of gave a bunch of scraps to the first tier,
Yeah.
and people are really upset with that.
I guess, yeah, but also
So
it's really, really not necessary stuff. I feel like the bonuses, it's just kind of
it is
it's kind
really
of a
really
flex.
optional stuff.
It's kind of a
Yeah,
flex,
it's
right?
stuff like being able to upload large files
That
or
is
stream in
nice.
higher resolutions,
Yeah.
or like use emoticons from other servers and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
Stuff that's kind of if you use Discord a lot, it may be useful to you, but if you're just there to chat and connect with people, it's no big deal.
It's bonus. It's
But
definitely not restricting like core content. It's just bonus.
right,
It's bonus, which I think is okay.
right. I'm worried that could get worse. Either they'd have like they just move all the useful stuff to the higher tiers,
Hmm.
or like they take things we always took advantage of and put them on the bottom tier or something like that. Like limit how many channels you could join even
Oh,
more, or
yeah.
Something like
Every
I'm
server you make,
definitely
you have to
I'm
pay
definitely
for.
with people who are worried about what they could do with this stuff.
Oh, it's worrying.
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
personally couldn't imagine there being ads. Like I don't know why. Maybe I'm putting too much faith in Discord, but I couldn't. I
Hmm.
just I just think there'd be so much backlash. There'd be so much backlash
Yeah.
if there was advertisements.
Yeah, yeah. And like when Reddit went public, there was a lot of, controversy about it. And not much happened shortly after, but now we're starting to see that like, obviously there's a bunch of ads on there, and
Mhm.
there was talk about like pay only parts of the site that they'd be doing, which just
Weird.
seems so scummy
Yeah.
because the whole point of Reddit is the user content, right? Like
Yeah.
that's literally the whole draw of the platform,
It's really
is that
weird.
people make this content and through their own upvoting or downvoting, they choose what gets visibility, and so it's kind of what would you call it? Like killing the cow that makes the milk or something, or killing the goose that lays the eggs.
Let's
Whatever,
go with that. Let's go with
whatever those
that.
terminologies. Yeah. Um, yeah. It's so. I mean, I'm hoping they don't do something stupid like that. But I mean, if you're going public, you gotta get money somehow. So I'm wondering how they're gonna do that, because
Yeah.
it's such a great platform, man. Like,
It is something that we've maybe not taken advantage of, but it's something that we won't appreciate. We won't know how good it was until it's gone. I
yeah.
said that like
Well,
a fucking idiot. Like
I
you
guess
know
we
what I mean.
have taken advantage of it because it's free.
Yeah.
And it does so much more than all the shit we had before it. Like, I don't know how many systems you remember the voice, like um Ventrilo, Roger Wilco, stuff like that. The old voice chat,
Nope.
apps
I
from
only ever
from
used
from yonder.
I only ever used
Okay.
Skype and Discord, but I
They used
barely
to
use Skype.
be just voice chat apps, and they'd have very minimal functionality as far as Discord was. They'd have, sometimes they'd have chat rooms, but you couldn't do much in them. The fact that you could have like bots running in Discord, you can have all these different channels and
Yeah.
all these permission roles and stuff. You can like paste images and links and video. Like, that's so revolutionary. It's like they took IRC and they put it with voice chat, and then they supercharged both of them. It's like what they're able to do with the app is pretty awesome. And I can't think of any sort of competitor to Discord at the moment, as far as what it does.
No.
Like, that isn't like, something for work like uh whatever Microsoft has. I don't know if it's
Teams.
Teams or something. Yeah. Ugh,
Teams is the big one
gross.
at my workplace
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever see TeamSpeak? Because
TeamSpeak, yep. That's another one.
when like this like when I first started like using Discord a lot, TeamSpeak was kind of a competitor. But then
Mhm.
for the last 10 years, I never heard about it again. I'm guessing Discord just completely rendered it redundant. Because I remember there was genuinely like a split. Like sometimes you'd speak to people on games and they'd be like, hey, join TeamSpeak, join TeamSpeak. Like there would be a split between TeamSpeak and Discord, but not these days. TeamSpeak
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a remnant of the past now.
Yeah, it is, and it's just because Discord, you can do so much.
Yeah.
There's just so much. It's so much easier to join a server. You don't need like an IP address or whatever the fuck you were using before.
Yeah.
And you had once you had your user set up, it was fine all across those, and it was just as easy to invite people or like set up roles, and it's just so good at what it does. I'd hate to have to find some other app, but you know if they do start adding shit, I mean, it's like you said, there's going to be a lot of uproar about it, as there should be, and
Mhm.
hopefully that keeps them in line, knowing where their place is as far as what they can and can't get away with.
Know your fucking place. Don't fuck with us.
Know your place, Discord.
I saw something today that was kind of funny. That the president of games at Netflix was talking about. I guess they were talking kind of in the context. You know how like Netflix games is kind of already a thing, or is going to be more of a thing in the future, where Netflix wants to start their own kind of like games platform. And
Kinda.
yeah, kinda. And this like
I mean, I hear about random company like
oh yeah,
Amazon was doing it at some
yeah.
point. So yeah.
Yeah, but the president of games at Netflix said that like there was a longer quote, but the gist of what he said was that like 10-year-old kids these days don't like they're not excited about consoles anymore. And the quote he gave was like no kids these days are excited about the PlayStation 6. Like kids they want PCs and they want like touchscreens and things like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
how out of touch can you be? Because I feel like every 10-year-old is still play like all children in general largely on console. Am I wrong? So I just feel like
Uh,
that was a kind of ridiculous thing to say. I mean, I get what he means about iPad kids, but iPad kids are probably also like console kids as
mhm.
well. So that
Yeah.
seems so random. I can't believe it. Like someone in that kind of position would say that because I just think
I
kids love
think I think there's
consoles.
definitely some truth to that. But there's obviously it's not completely true. I think one of the things is if you look at a bar chart of console sales over time, you'll see that console sales have increasingly shrunken, and PC sales have
Increasingly
slowly
shrunken.
been growing. Increasingly shrunken. Okay. What?
Yeah, I got you.
What I
Oh
want to
yeah,
say.
PC is absolutely
You know what I mean.
taking a bit of the market. Yeah, like undeniably.
Gradually
I know,
shrunken. That's what I
I
meant
know
to
what you
say.
meant. Yeah, it was just funny.
They've gradually shrunken, and then the PC market has slowly grown. So technically, PCs are starting to get a bigger share than they used to, which is I think why we're seeing more attention for ports than we ever used to, and why now like suddenly Microsoft is shifting its strategy to PC. We're seeing these IPs getting more freedom between not just consoles and PC, but across consoles as well. But and then also the whole iPad aspect of it is yeah, mobile games have just been on a tear ever since they started on the scene, and that's definitely been a larger thing that like 10 15 years ago gaming on cell phones was nothing.
Yeah.
They had like Snake and like some
Snake.
other really crappy versions of whatever game you could think of.
Angry
A lot
Birds.
of them have proprietary games that would only work on their phones or on that model of phone or
Yeah.
on that carrier. It was nothing. And so like now it's actually a viable alternative. So there's definitely some merit to how popular iPads and phones are for kids to use, but I wouldn't say consoles are not a player, but they're definitely a smaller player, if not the smallest they have been, in a while.
Yeah, I guess
But
what all I was saying was that I do really think that most 8 to 10-year-olds probably care about consoles. I feel like
mhm.
that age in particular, like yeah, you're definitely looking at consoles at that point. I think
Mhm.
it's a kind of a bizarre thing to say that they're not. Like the
To say
quote
they're
that
not caring is yeah,
the
but
quote
to
the
say
quote
they're
that he
caring
said was
less would
like
be more accurate. Yeah.
yeah, the quote he gave was are 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds dreaming of owning a PlayStation 6 question mark like it was a rhetorical question. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yes. Yes, they probably like yes, I think they are. Like I don't know any 8 or 10-year-old kids, But I can imagine they probably are. I mean, the PlayStation 6 isn't announced yet, so that might contribute to the fact that they're not dreaming of that because it isn't real yet.
Right.
But
Well,
the idea.
something slightly related that I don't think that's what he's alluring to.
Oh, okay.
But as far as adults, looking at consoles, they're getting the changes between generations are getting smaller and smaller. So you could tell me that gamers aren't looking as forward to the PS6 as they were to the PS5, and I'd be like,
yeah.
I could
I can see that.
definitely see that because
Mhm.
the console to console, the generational leaps have been so much increasingly smaller that there's just not as much hype as there used to. Like even the Switch 2, which fanboys have been begging for years to have, a more capable version of the Switch. And now that it's finally around, it still doesn't have, that kind of hype that it would, because, well, first of all, what's the big deal, right? I mean,
But that's literally it.
they've seen it, it looks almost exactly the same. It's got a couple of bells and whistles and stuff, and it probably has a higher res, portable screen.
I think
but
it's going to be
I
think it's going to be significantly more powerful. I think it's going to be
it's
able
like
to
mobile
run
phones. They used to
games.
have these huge leaps between generations, and now, looking at the newest phones, that there's so little that they can add now, that I think consoles are kind of going through a similar thing where it's really hard to make a sell for the next generation. Besides, well, it's a bit faster, and
Oh, phones are so bad for that. Like bulk
yeah,
phones, honestly, they're so predatory and they're so they're so expensive considering, like you said, the difference between the last 3 smartphones I've had has been so small
mhm,
that like
it has.
other than maybe the screen looks a bit more modern because of the size of the bezels and just the way they design it, like looking a bit sleeker and things like that. But other than that,
I've
what were the
had
significant
for the last,
differences?
I want to
Not
say,
much.
6 or 7 years. I had a Galaxy S9
Oh,
or
really?
something. It just lasted me years and
Mine's
years,
a
and only
S22.
recently it just died, like kicked the
Oh.
bucket. And so I got a new, like, I don't know, S21, S24, whatever the fuck they're up to now. So, and like it's barely different, like
Yeah.
it's got a slightly higher resolution and it runs a bit faster, but that's it, you know. Like it's got some buzzword AI, stuff to it, which honestly
Oh,
doesn't do very much at all.
no, I never
Very,
use any of that.
very nothing burger about it. Literally just, market
Yeah.
speak. But I mean, that's it. There was nothing in all those generations that I've missed of, I don't know if there was one for every generation between 9 and 21 or whatever they're at,
Mhm.
but it's and for a phone, like we're not talking about performance like a console where performance is something that you can visually see with the frame rate and the quality. Like we're just talking like an app takes like a couple milliseconds faster to load or
And like
something like that
that
you won't
literally
notice.
is what we're at where we're at now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like the most impact you'll see from performance. So even though it could be like 4 or 8 or 10 times faster, just how little I actually get out of that is kind of sad.
Yeah, you mentioned AI briefly, which is a perfect transition because there's been a shitstorm over AI this week um with ChatGPT 4.0 or at least image generation 4.0. Am I correct in saying?
Yeah, what is it, like 4.0 or 4.0, whatever their latest model is?
Yeah, whatever. But it
It's like
just
4.0 or something weird.
yeah, but it was fucking crazy. Like it was leaps and bounds over any kind of image generation we've seen before. At least I think so. Anyway, and was there some kind of video generation involved as well, or was it strictly image? Because I've seen some videos, but I don't know if that was from
No, it's
ChatGPT
just the image generation, and people have probably been using the images from it, using existing image to video
to make
stuff
image to
to make it
video.
look.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I remember someone made a Lord of the Rings, a Studio Ghibli version of Lord of the Rings, and
yeah,
they did a shot for shot remake of the trailer.
yeah.
And like half the people were like, "Oh my god, this is awesome! This changes everything." And the other half of the people were like, "I hope you die in a fire." Like there's so much vitriol about it. It's crazy, you know.
What are your thoughts?
It's just like, you know, these these AI systems are just going to keep getting better and better. People act like this is the best they're going to be, but
No.
really they're just over time. They're
Check
going
back in
to
like 2 months.
they're going to just keep improving. If you think it's, you know, too realistic now or hard to tell, just wait. It's going to be even rougher. So I think it's just, you know, progress that it just goes like this. And I feel like people do this at every step. You know, they'll say, "Oh, you know, this is the end," or "This is terrible," or, you know, "We should stop it," something like that.
Basically, yeah.
But they don't actually, like, you know, write to the congressman to make laws or regulations or anything like that. They'll
No.
just write really toxic comments
Tweets.
online and think that they're doing something about it. If
Yeah.
you really care about AI, talk to your congressman. You know, have them make laws, regulations, rules to protect people. You know, don't just be a jerk online and think you're changing something. That's really the point I want to drive in.
No, I do agree.
At the end, it's a tool, you know, and it's not the tool that we should be mad at. It's the people who are using it, and that's what we should be focusing on.
Yeah, like the Ghibli stuff was obviously the kind of the main controversy that I saw, but I don't. But I might.
Mhm.
So the controversy was around Ghibli because people started like found a prompt to make, you know, Ghibli style images. I think I'm correct in saying
Mhm.
that. But
Yeah,
was ChatGPT capable of making basically any art style with the new image engine?
I think it was pretty good at making a huge variety of stuff,
Yeah.
but I think their newest model, and I don't I don't know if it's their training data as much as it uses a different kind of process for for inferencing, for actually rendering than they used to. I
Yeah.
forget what it's called, but they do it like line by line now, and it's apparently better at doing what they did before. So maybe it's just that it's now more accurate. It could have been that
Hmm.
the data there for the Studio Ghibli set was there all this time, and now it's only better represented or better able to be pulled out. Um, but it could be they updated the database and they, you know, did more scans of stills
Yeah.
from the movies or something.
Well,
You know,
whatever
it's
it
hard
is
to
they did,
tell.
it was
Yeah,
fucking incredible.
yeah. But
Um,
whatever it is, it's very good at, you know, using that style and applying it to photos and stuff. And people have been like redoing memes
memes.
and, you
Yeah.
know, like historical photos, you know, popular, you know, uh, culture, you know, pop culture photos and stuff like that
All
of
their own family
celebrities
photos.
or their own family. Yeah, just doing whatever. And it's crazy both to see just what the thing is capable of and like the kind of different responses you get, you know, from
Yeah.
people. Because like I said, some people are just like, this is mind blowing. This changes everything. And then the other half is just like absolutely losing their minds and
I do
and
understand. I
throwing out
do
death threats.
understand the not like death threats and things like that, but I do naturally understand the anger because of I do, you know, obviously, like, I believe and stand for like artistic preservation in terms of
Hmm.
manual art, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like you said, it's how you handle it. Like, it's not, this isn't that, like, death threats over Twitter aren't gonna make this any better. What needs to happen is
Yeah.
we need to make the people in charge of the people who own these companies need to make sure that they're not used for harm. That's
Yeah.
like that's the key
There's
part.
way more constructive things we could be
Yeah, like
doing.
we
Um,
decide how these tools are going to be used. Like our voices together
mhm.
will decide how
And
these are
there
used.
definitely needs to be. I mean, look at there's a lot of voice actors and not just voice actors, but like live action movie actors who are concerned that they're being forced to sign these contracts that give out their rights to use their images and AI and perpetuity. You know,
Yeah,
like terrible stuff like that. They shouldn't have to be forced to sign that. There should be protections against stuff like that.
yeah,
You know, there really does need to be more rules and like I said, more protections, regulations that keep this in line so that they can't be, you know,
yeah.
this isn't even something that we should be talking about because it shouldn't be an issue. But here it is. because it's so new that there aren't any of these protections.
This happens
And
every time something like this comes around. Like we have to like
right.
boomers are going to be
And you know,
boomers.
we can blame Congress or whoever your government is because they're a bunch of old people, you know, who don't know technology, and there's a lot of truth to that. But the
Yeah.
thing is that there are things we can do, and we can't just yell at people, pick up a pencil, and think that it'll change something. When really there's real world stuff that it's already happening, where some people are finding that their voices are being trained for AI that they didn't want to, or
Yeah.
that there's parts of their contract that are now stating that, you know, we
Ugh.
own the rights to, you know,
I imagine that's
and that's
very
the that's the
I
stuff
imagine
we should be
that's
concerned about.
very
That's the
prevalent
stuff we
right
should be
now.
focused on. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
It's a serious
you
risk.
know, so when I see the Studio Ghibli images and stuff, it's just like, yeah, it's kind of funny, but if and people talking about copyright and stuff. Well, the thing with copyright law is you can't copyright like a style, you know. So as much as you know, people are angry over this. Again, it's the law. If you want, you know, if you want something like this to be copyrightable, then you'd have to make a law for it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't a problem of the tool. This is a problem of the laws
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that allow this stuff to happen.
Like you said, it's change. Like it's a big
Mhm.
changing point, and there's going to be a
Yeah.
kind of grace period where we all have to decide, like how is this going to work? Who's allowed to do
Mhm.
it? When are we allowed to do it? Why should we be allowed to do it? You know, what situations is this good, or what situations is this bad? Like
Yeah.
morally and
Mhm.
legally. And then after a
Exactly.
few years, if we handle all that process correctly, we'll be in a situation where AI kind of has its own space, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and you know, genuine art has its own space as well. That's the ideal outcome, and it is possible. It's not like this. It's not this unachievable universe that's like out of our grasp and it's over now. Like, you know, we've hit the great filter. That's it. Like our society is going to end. Like, no, there's still time.
Yeah.
There's still time there's still time to make it work. It's not, in my opinion, anyway. This
Yeah.
isn't
There
the
is.
all and all.
There definitely is, and that's the part of it. It's like you said, the whenever something new comes, you know, it introduces more questions, and now we have to try to figure out, you know, how should we, you know, how should we use this? How should we allow it to be used? And it's going to continually, you know, like I said, improve. So we're going to keep having those different steps. And we have to be there at each step of the way. We have to address it, or it's just going to keep getting worse.
Yeah.
And when we just do what we've been doing, and we just think that if we just ignore it, or if we say, you know, it's useless and nobody wants it, and think it's just going to go away because you say those things, you know, that's so counterproductive that you're actually helping it, you know,
Yeah,
to be
probably.
more prominent, because
Yeah.
you're just turning people away, you know, who actually like it, and you're not contributing to the dialogue.
We were talking before about these fake speedruns and shit, and like Carl
Mhm.
Jobst, his channel, and those alike. But
Yeah.
that just reminded me of the. Did we ever talk about Elon Musk being a fake gamer? Did we talk about that on Content Farm?
Oh, I don't think we brought that up before.
Maybe we.
No.
No, I don't remember. But
I
isn't
don't
that?
think we have.
If we did, then I apologize. But it's funny, so I'm going to talk about it again anyway. Like
It is funny, yeah.
it's so funny, and it really makes me think that he said all that shit about Diablo because I don't know. Maybe he wants to be down with the kids, and you know, do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like maybe
Yeah.
he realized that like, oh, a lot of young, like most if not all young people like games. So I'm gonna say that I'm like really good at these games, and then that will get them all to like, you know, maybe they'll be interested in Tesla, maybe they'll be interested in SpaceX, or maybe, you know, in the future they'll be interested in my political leanings.
Yeah.
because
Definitely
because I like
something.
games.
Yeah, definitely had, you know, ulterior motives for why he would do that.
Yeah,
For sure.
and basically to summarize, Elon Musk like years in the past had like, well, not that it was Diablo 4, so not that long ago, like maybe a
Mhm.
year ago. He said like, or 2 years ago, he said that he was like top 100. he said he was like top 100 in the world at Diablo 4, and he talked about
Yeah.
like his character and these dungeons that he had done, and like
Mhm.
you know all his stats, and he was like he'd like show his stats page and things like that, and people just kind of took his word for it for a long time until until one day he was streaming it on Twitch, and then people who like other big Diablo players or maybe even like creators started like playing with him in his lobby, and they all realized like this guy has no fucking idea what he's doing. Like they all realized that pretty quickly. Like apparently he was just playing like you know like someone who was new, like a new player, and he was just kind of getting carried by everyone in the lobby. And
Yeah.
I don't remember how it came out, but yeah, it turned out he was being boosted. Like he was paying people, like one or multiple people, a lot of money to just go on his account and boost. Obviously, it's pretty standard practice.
I remember how
for
it
some
came
people.
out. First of all, I remember when he first started streaming Diablo 4, and like people were like, "Wow, he's really up there." And like he was playing, and there wasn't too much wrong with his game. Like I remember seeing some comments about like optimizing his play. Like he shouldn't have done that, or he should be using this move before he uses this move.
So he
Or
wasn't like a
like
complete noob. He was just kind of not optimal.
at first, and I didn't understand Diablo 4 high level
No.
play,
No.
or end game, whatever you call it. I played it. Even after playing it, I didn't understand the upper top
No,
echelons,
me neither.
enough to criticize his gameplay.
Mhm.
So I just remember hearing some things, that were like some little nitpicks, and I just kind of brushed it off as, he's something, you can nitpick anything, you could watch gamers play and make comments, it's nothing. And then it was when he started playing Path of Exile 2.
Oh
When
shit! It was
it
Path of
had just come
Exile.
out. Yeah, it had
Yeah.
just come out. And it was a couple days into the game, and he had one of the top hardcore players, and he was streaming gameplay, and he just absolutely did not know what he was doing. Like I hadn't played Path of Exiles 1. I'd only played Path of Exiles 2 briefly at that point, just a couple hours. But even I was like, okay, why is he hovering over crap like that? Why isn't he picking up this very valuable item?
So you mean he was
like
playing with one of the best players? Is that what you said?
I what I saw, he was just soloing stuff.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
But there was a lot of strange stuff, and he had named his maps Elon's maps, which was really weird that he'd name it after himself. So there was whispers of rumors like he'd totally somebody got his account up, and like he showed his items and all the stuff that he had, and then people were like, "Whoa, that gear is way too good for what he's done." And like, they'd see him not picking up these items that were like the whole point of the dungeon, or he'd be doing dungeons and people are like, "Why are you doing that dungeon? Why are you doing, like, you shouldn't even be, bothering with," like, so much questionable choices started popping up. And at one point, somebody calculated out like how many hours you'd have to play to get to the point that he was, and he'd have to be playing like 10 or 12 hours a day, like since the game came out, for him to be at the place he was, and like the top 3 or whatever he was. And so like so many of this stuff came up that eventually he admitted that
he just came out and said it, didn't he?
No, first he admitted that he had shared his account with some other people, but then he fully admitted that he boosted his account and all this stuff, and totally got busted with it. And like it was pretty rough for whatever image he was trying to portray for him as a gamer just completely crumbled. And it was kind of funny to watch, honestly.
He was definitely trying to come across as like down with the kids, fucking nerdy gamer dad. I mean, there is some truth to his gamerness, because he said years ago that he was in like the one of the first like Quake tournaments with a prize pool above like a certain amount of money, and people like fact checked it quite deeply, and I think that story turned out to be true. So he at one point was like a significant gamer because he played in like a serious Quake tournament when he was like pre-famous, or less significantly less famous.
I mean, just playing the games that he did, just shows that he knows about gaming. Like
He knows about games,
he
yeah.
may have gotten schooled about how to play the character that he got boosted, some basics about it and stuff. But he was able to play it, competently enough that some people believed it for as
On
long
his,
as they
because he
did.
used to stream,
So
so still
yeah,
does. So
yeah.
yeah,
So he's not a complete noob, but at the same time, he's nowhere near the level that he portrays himself to
no.
be. Especially not with with being the top of the charts, running 3 companies at the same time as a government position, and still having time outside of his 10 hours a day to stay on the leaderboards or whatever it is.
Yeah, like
It's
literally unbelievable, not possible.
yeah. Like, okay, buddy.
But
So
the
that was
reason,
funny.
yeah, the reason it's kind of relevant now is because yesterday or the day before, I think it came like is, I think. Do you know the streamer Hassan Abi? I mean, like,
I've heard the name Hassan like so
well,
many times in the last year or something, but I've never seen one of his
oh,
streams.
very
I may
controversial
have seen
guy.
clips or something, but
One
I
of
don't have
those
an image
kind
of
of
him in my
one
head.
of those kind of political streamers, very controversial guy.
Uh-huh.
Don't really want to get into it, but I think it
Yeah.
was him. If I'm Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but I think it was him. He was somehow speaking to Elon Musk's daughter. Like the context is lost on me.
Uh-huh.
Context is lost on me. But his daughter basically said that she had to carry him out of bronze on Overwatch, which is really
Ouch.
funny. Which yeah,
That's
this is
really
just
funny.
really stinging his gamer ego at this point. Like his gamer ego is fucking is currently destroyed. His reputation is down the drain, to be honest. Like it was already bad enough with the boosting, but now his own child reportedly boosted him out of bronze on
Wow.
Overwatch. So that's just like the
Unfortunate.
icing on the cake, like the extra stab in the back. Yeah.
And in the gaming community, the people who boost their accounts are just held in such a low regard,
Oh, it's the worst
you know.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So to be seen as that through the very people that you're trying to impress, you know, that's how you get a very bad reputation through the community.
Yeah, I never
And
understood
that's why
any.
he has it.
I never really understood any form of cheating, like whether it's boosting or actually hacking.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me. Like,
Boosting feels very much like a social thing. Like you just want to brag to your friends that you have this rank, you
yeah,
know? Like, oh, look at me, I'm this rank. Oh, bullshit. It's like, oh, let me sign onto my account. Look at that. And like, oh, whoa, you must be really good at the game. You have that rank. You know,
yeah,
just because obviously if people are boosting, it's not to show that they're to themselves because they know they don't deserve it. So it's just for other people to see, I guess.
yeah. Like even
Or
when I get carried by people who are slightly better than me in my friend group,
mhm,
I feel bad. I'm like, I don't really deserve this. Like, if I'm carried accidentally like a couple of ranks too high in any
yeah,
game, I'm like, yeah, this kind of feels like I'm cheating. So I couldn't imagine actually being like paying for a boost or getting a free boost, like a significant one. Crazy.
yeah.
The same with
I
like,
was playing with a friend and we were leveling up a lot,
yeah,
and like um every now and then I'm like, man, it almost feels like he's carrying me some games, but I'd start playing games just solo queue, and I'd feel like I feel like I can hold my own at this rank, and it's definitely something to feel that you've been carried versus you feel like you belong at that rank at that level, and you're
yeah,
just like I could see people who have so much of an ego that they're like, well, I deserve to be at this rank and I just don't want to waste my time with the lower ranks or something. I
that's
can
very
imagine there's
cringe.
people like that. Very cringe, but yeah. That I think one of the possible reasons people could cheat is that when you only get so good that you feel like you've plateaued and you're unable to get that higher bit, but you still want to get that edge, so you'll
Yeah,
cheat just so you improve that little bit.
that's exactly
But
it. Yeah.
I think that's definitely something that happens, but it's just one of the very many variations because there's also the
Mhm.
people, I see them in random lobbies all the time. They're hacking, and then you watch them play, and it's kind of half of the gameplay is just absolute amateur bullshit. Like, why would you do that? You're so stupid. And then suddenly they just headshot 3 people in a row, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you're hacking.
Cheats these
it's like
days,
they're
yeah, go
so
on.
terrible. They want to know what it feels like to be good at a game. I think there's also that kind of aspect to it. And then there's the griefer aspect where people don't actually care about being good. They just really want to shoot people through walls and make them mad.
Yeah, make them mad.
There's just so many different aspects to why someone would cheat, and I think we can just agree that all of them are bad.
All of them are bad. Just don't cheat.
All of them are red flags for sure. If you have a friend who cheats and it's not specifically like, I only cheat for that one, to piss off my friend because he hasn't figured it out. It's so funny. If it's not just like some in joke, that someone's in on, or that's harmless or something, and it's actually one of these reasons that you're just mad at society, or you just got a huge ego. Yeah, definitely a red flag, and not a good person to be around.
Cheats these days,
we ban them.
Cheats these days are advanced as well. Like, it's kind of scary. Like, back in the day on consoles and on like early Counter-Strike and stuff, it was just like aimbots, where like you press the button and snap on people's heads and shit like that, and obviously wall hacks and things like that. But nowadays you could like, cheats are so advanced. Like, a lot of people just make their own, and you can set it so instead of a name lock, you get like a very tiny, unnoticeable to a spectator, like aim assist and things like that. And you can press a button and it'll toggle it, and then you can turn it straight back off.
You can turn it on and off. You can have some variants to it, so it isn't
many variants. So people can't replicate it. Yeah, they're so advanced. I've seen videos of people using some crazy shit.
There's ways to make it more stealthy and stuff, and those are probably the ones that don't get as detected as much. But still, there's ways to find it. Anti-cheats are getting better all the time.
Better,
and they're definitely playing cat and mouse as far as how far the cheats go and the anti-cheats. And people will shit on oh, I hate having to run this stupid anti-cheat with the game every time. And man, this is really helping you make the game better. Because
just be happy.
Let me tell you, back in the Wild West of games, when they didn't have these, and just whoever cheated, like that was some shit, man.
Yeah,
like that was not fun. I remember I even tried it at one point, and I was like, this isn't fun at all.
Arrest this man. Arrest this man.
Arrest this man. I remember I went on a Counter-Strike server, and I tried one of the wall hack cheats, and I just went to like this door, and I just shoot people through a wall.
Nice.
Like, people got so pissed, and it was like, there's no skill in this at all. Yeah. Like, I might as well be shooting NPCs or bots. Like,
literally,
how is this fun?
This is not like, the whole point of a PvP game is that you outskill your opponent. That's the dopamine rush. That's the satisfaction.
And what pissed me off was just how absolutely easy it was for me to do that. I just downloaded this program and I just ran it, and then I pressed like an F key or something to turn it on, and then suddenly I was able to see people at any part of the map. I could lock on in heads and stuff like that, and you weren't banned unless you were, after someone saw you do it, because there wasn't, anti-cheat stuff to determine you were using this program to hack the game,
Yeah. Last thing I'm going to mention, but I just remembered this since we're talking about cheats. Do you remember? This was like a year ago, or a couple, or maybe probably about a year ago. There was an Apex Legends tournament, like their biggest tournament, in person. Like, so, desks of like 3 and whatever, like on stage, and a hacker managed to deploy cheats onto one of the PCs live. Do you remember that?
Yep, I remember that.
That was insane.
That was wild.
The guy just went, he was playing, he just went, wait, I'm hacking, and everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he went, I'm hacking. He's like, I'm hacking. So he like steps away from his PC, and people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? And yeah, it turns out like someone had remote deployed a cheating software onto the LAN PC.
Yeah,
at the
so
tournament.
wild. Yeah, and what an absolute troll too. Like,
that is honestly like.
Can you imagine if they didn't catch that? Like, he'd be getting shit. I wonder how many times that may have happened before. Maybe we didn't know about it.
Yeah, and someone like, maybe it could have had something.
And someone got accused of hacking when they didn't. When someone really like like, you know,
Like,
framed him.
that's terrible. Like, that's
That
such a
is. That's
horrible thing
awful.
to do to someone, because that really could have
Yeah.
easily just lost. Like, no one would believe him. You know, like what?
And it really fucked up the tourney too.
Yeah, it
Like
did. Yeah,
it
they had
put a
to.
whole hold on
I
the
think they
tourney.
had
I don't
to.
know if
They
they
had to
finished it.
maybe like restart a certain section or something. I
Yeah,
don't remember what
yeah,
happened. I don't care about Apex, so
yeah.
I didn't
It
follow it.
definitely put a wrench in it. That was messed up. But just the fact they could do that,
It's
very
like,
unsettling.
obviously I don't condone it. I actually genuinely think that's a terrible thing to do. But like, in a
Mhm.
weird way, don't you kind of like respect it? Because that's like some.
It's definitely
That's like some heist level shit. That's
yeah,
some heist level shit.
it's definitely very creative
Yeah,
that
it
they
is.
think to do something like that.
Drop cheats onto someone's PC, try and get them
Yeah,
caught.
like yeah. That's definitely something that took a lot of work and, you know, getting it
Mhm.
to, I don't know how
I mean,
programming
for
works,
someone
but
who has the real know around, like, sorry,
Mhm.
for someone who really understands that kind of shit, I don't think the people who set up those tournaments would have ever expected or prepared for anything like that to happen.
Right,
So for
right.
someone who knew what they were
Yeah.
doing, it probably wasn't that difficult, because who would do that? Like, who would try and do something like that? Like, no one's prepared for
Mhm.
that bullshit. So
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. So kudos on them for investigating it and not just being like, "You're a hacker." Bullshit. Somebody install. Yeah, you're what? Did your sister install the hacks on your computer? Get out of here.
yeah,
You
and
know.
I think obviously the guy playing's reaction was key in that as
Mhm.
well, because if he was like, oh, that's weird, but I don't really know what's going on here, or if he just played anyway, this would have been a
Yeah.
very different situation. But he
I don't know
did
if you've seen the clips of hackers getting caught like streaming, you
kind
know,
of,
and
yeah,
turning their hacks on and stuff. Like
yeah.
a lot of the times it'd be on, and like they wouldn't notice till their chat says something, and they're like, "What? What? Oh, yeah, that is weird. I can see people through what
Oh,
is
are you
that? What
referring
is
to
it?"
the one of the girl? I don't remember her name, but
Yeah,
there
the
was a
one
really,
girl. He's like I don't know if it was like Susie or something. Like Susie must
was,
have installed this on my system or something.
yeah,
Like
she
she's
says
blaming her
like,
friend and
she
stuff.
goes, yeah, she literally, the first thing she goes, oh, Susie, like, oh, Susie, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
God,
who the
why
fuck
would
is
you
Susie?
do this, Susie? Oh my god, you know.
It's been on the screen for like 20 seconds. She's just
Yeah,
like
really.
only
Yeah.
she's
She's
now
just now
realizing.
noticing this. Yeah, yeah. I actually caught the God, I was playing like there was some battle arena that was like a joke. What was that?
Sorry, continue.
There was I think it's Totally Accurate Battle Arena or Battle Royale or something, where it was
Yeah, it
like
is
kind of
called
like a
that.
joke. It's like a joke
Like the
battle
ragdoll
royale.
game.
Yeah, with like these rag dolls and these you know really goofy models. Me and my friends were playing it, and there was this dude who was just like popping heads left and right. I think he was on our team actually, and he was just like killing everything in sight. And we're like, this dude's hacking. This dude's hacking. We know what a hacking looks like. This dude's
Yeah.
hacking, and he had TV in his name, so it's like, oh, he's live streaming.
So you just
we
go on
watched his live stream. Yeah, and it's like very obvious hacks. And like right at the start of the game, as he's like launching out of was it like a train or a I don't know what the hell it was, some vehicle where you launch out of. He already had like a full suit on or whatever it was, and he already had weapons as he was launching out of the starting area. And like he's like, oh, where did I get these from? Oh wow, I guess.
Like, who does he think he's fooling?
Yeah, we totally reported him, and like he got banned, and it was great.
Nice. That's good.
But yeah, it's just when they get caught, it's so entertaining to watch.
Right. I think it's time to wrap up. I'm extremely tired.
Yeah, that's a good time to wrap it. All right, good episode.
Was a pretty good episode. Nice chill one this week.
Yeah.
Well, cheers, Peter.
Yeah, thanks, John.